Okay, good evening to everybody, and glad we are able to reconvene once again. And in relation to what was discussed last week about the history of the Jewish community in Finland, and now we move forward to where I guess we left off from last week, and we talked a little bit about what it's like for the Jewish community today in Finland. And so it is our tremendous privilege and honor that we have with us tonight the Chief Rabbi of Finland, Simon Livson, who you see on your screen now, who lives in Helsinki. And he was born in Mevaseret Zion in Israel, and Simon moved with his family at age 7 to Finland. He served in the Finnish National Army in an anti-aircraft unit and later earned a BA in business administration from Helsinki Business Polytech. He studied at Mayanot in Yerushalayim and Yeshivat HaMiftar in Efrat, and he received smicha from Rabbi Riskin of Efrat. He then came to the United States and studied further at Yeshivat Chovevei Torah with Rabbi Avi YIS. And Simon was Rabbi Livson was a rabbinic intern at Beth David in West Hartford, Connecticut, and served periodically as the rabbi at the Atria in Riverdale. And he earned a second smicha there at Chovevei. Rabbi Livson returned to Finland with his family, where he serves now as the chief rabbi of the country. And Rabbi Livson has been installed as the chief rabbi on January 13th was the day, 2013, and he took over from Rabbi Moshe Edelman. Rabbi Livson, who describes himself as modern Orthodox, lives in Helsinki, as I mentioned earlier, with his Israeli-born wife, Sivan Glazer Livson, and their 4 older daughters, older in quotes here, I have that, and their son, Avishai. So it is our great pleasure tonight to ask Rabbi Livson to share with us a little bit about what it's like to be a Jew in Finland, and particularly interesting, what it's like to be the chief rabbi of that country. Rabbi Livson.
Thank you very much. This is an honor to. I'm sorry about this camera. Sometimes it does it that it shows green light. I hope that you can see me from this picture. But yeah, anyways, I wanted to thank Young Israel of Scarsdale and I've been to the community before. It's a wonderful community. I know the community through my wife Sivan's uncle Arie and Anita. And it's been a pleasure to visit there, and obviously it was exciting to be able to tonight. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here, to give you some information, some idea what it is like today in Finland. Yes, so as was mentioned, I came to Finland with my family 2012, and I'm Finnish. So it's being in Finland in general is very familiar to me. But obviously, taking upon myself the job of being the chief rabbi of Finland was not something I've done before, especially coming from the countryside and where there's no Jews and no synagogues or any activity which is Jewish, except that my parents are Jewish and grew up in Helsinki, but they decided to after being in Israel to come to Finland and basically start something totally different. So they moved to a small place called Korpijärvi, which is hard to pronounce for Americans especially, but it's in the middle of Finland, and around 300 people live there, so it's not really densely populated. Anyways, so now we've been living in Helsinki, where the community, the biggest community of Finland is. We have two communities in Finland, one in Helsinki, one in Turku. Turku is the on the western coast. We have also a 6 years younger synagogue, very similar to the one that we have in Helsinki. We are Orthodox. Both communities are Orthodox. The vibrant community is definitely more in Helsinki. I mean, my office is in Helsinki, although I'm the rabbi also of Turku. So my presence is felt more in Helsinki. And sometimes I go to visit and give dashot, Shabbatot, certain. Sometimes there's bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and obviously, as the chief rabbi, I also have all kinds of events which are connected to the government, to the municipalities, all kinds of things. You have to be. Not only are you a rabbi of the community, but you are a rabbi of a country. So you have certain obligations, certain types of things to go through. But that being said, the situation or the relationship between the rabbinate here and the government is not the same as in, for example, with Zichrono Livracha, Lord Rabbi Sachs had with England. So it's not as the chief rabbi is obviously not as prominent. Also for the reason that the Rabbi Sachs was very prominent and very known all around, obviously, the world, and he was also a lord and a sir. So he had a very tight connection with the government. He represented that type of connection. Obviously, the Chief Rabbi of Finland is an official title, but I'm a worker of the community. I'm a worker of the community and not a worker of the government, so to speak. That's basically the record, the background a little bit about how is the position here. And basically in our community, we divide also some things between the rabbi and the chairman of the community, meaning the chairman of the community sometimes takes a lot of those political issues also. He's the face many times when it comes to political issues, specific political issues, and whatever is then interconnected religiously is then also my turf. The community is in Finland. We have about, unofficially, I would say we have between 2,000 to 3,000 Jews unofficially, but registered as part of communities, we have about 1,100 members in Helsinki, and the situation is pretty good. It's pretty good because we have obviously challenges. I'll go to those challenges soon. But we have everything that the community basically has or had previously, meaning we have all the organizations around the community. We have Bikur Cholim, Chevek Kadisha, Hachanasat Kala, Maccabi. Interesting thing about Maccabi is that basically the Finnish Maccabi is the oldest. It's not the oldest Maccabi, but it's the oldest Maccabi which has basically functioned through all the decades, through the war. That was really that's really something special. And in previous years also a couple of years ago, we had also the chairman, the president of the World Maccabi was actually from our community, Mr. Leo Dambensky. Was very, very active in the Maccabi part, sports, everything that's related to sports in the community. But all the basic things that a community should have around it, we have all the organizations. We have Hazamir Choir, we have Sifriya, we have you name it. We have the activity. Some of them are newer. The choir has not been Jewish choir has not kept itself the same all these years, but basically the idea is the same. That we are trying to educate the community members, the youth, about like the connection to culture and connection to through music and through Yiddish songs and so it's still very active. Although not all the members are anymore Jewish, this is something that is one of the challenges. What the intermarriage does to the community. We don't have the same situation, obviously, as American Orthodoxy, our Orthodox community. Usually doesn't have to deal with these things. I mean, obviously, you have intermarriage, you have all kinds of difficulties in the Jewish world, also in the States. But there you have Reform, you have conservative, Reconstructionists, you have a player can play any different ball game, whatever he wants, in the States. But here we are only Orthodox. We have Orthodox customs, and therefore we don't really have a lot where to choose from, and from where to choose, and therefore it's very important that that our members also understand the importance of continuation of the shalshelet, of the chain of values that Jews have. It's a big challenge. Well, let's go there a little bit later. I want to also then obviously leave questions for everybody to have. So we will have time for questions, obviously. We have a school. There's a slideshow. Let's see if I can share my screen. Let's put this one. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I collected some pictures of the Jewish life in Finland in the past, present. So here you have, for example, here you have the synagogue. I mean, it's been renovated again, but this is the original how it looked like. It looks very nice also today. We just renovated it in the past year. It was a big project, and we were very happy that we were able to do so. This is the as you can see, in 1870 the congregation was able to furnish as its first synagogue. Yeah. So this was one of the first this first place where the community or the soldiers gathered. Just a piece of history, how things looked like. Obviously the snow, a lot of snow since we are living in the north. Very different type of Jewish life then. Here you can see a very nice picture of Finnish Jewish soldiers in the war. I mean, you got last time from John Simon probably a very nice presentation about that part of the history, and the Sholka Shul, the shul that was during the war erected there. The Jewish soldiers could daven, and sometimes davened even as the German soldiers were smoking cigarettes outside, and they let them daven. Some other pictures from the inside of the community and outside, some groups, important groups. If I'm not mistaken, this is a Bikur Cholim picture, but that's not the essence. The essence is that you see how these Jews looked, and that there was already a vibrant presence a long time ago. This is from inside. You can see some of this shul inside. It's very I'm subjective, but I would say it's pretty nice looking. The Turku community also is pretty similar. I speak from the front, and usually we have about attendance in Shabbatot about 50. On a good Shabbat we have 50, and if it's a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, any kind of event, obviously it goes more, 100, 150. Chagim, the big Chagim, we can have 300-400. And it basically takes around 600 people. It will not be so comfortable anymore to have 600 people there. But that's usually Yom Kippur. I can have like 450 people at the same time. Kol Nidre, Neila, Rosh Hashanah, Pesach, probably maximum 300 people. And then it goes down. And this is the way it goes. I mean, Shavuot is almost, to my surprise, when I came to Finland, Shavuot was almost non-existent. I guess it matters here how long the holiday takes. If it's only 2 days, then it's like But anyways, so normal Orthodox shul. Women upstairs, men downstairs. Obviously, you could have also mechitza in the middle, but this is the way, the Russian way of doing things. Some artifacts, some art. You can see. If you can see an interesting. I was wondering always, like, what was the part in our synagogue that was left undone or not correct. I was wondering, and I really I didn't understand. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And then I looked at this V'zot HaTorah שעשה משה לפני בני ישראל. So look at this pay. There's something weird about it, right? It's the wrong way around. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting detail. And the people that did this were most likely, I know that they were knowledgeable of Hebrew, of Yiddish, of our tradition very well. So this, I'm 100% sure, is, well, let's say 99.99% sure that this is not by chance. And this is somehow related to the fact that it was not completed, so to speak, 100%. But it might be. This is my theory. Who knows? Then obviously there's also all kinds of important artifacts, like this crown there was found from a Swedish military boat close to Sveaborg's Suomenlinna, at the fortress that we have here, connected to Helsinki coast, and it was brought here, and God's name was put in the middle, As you know, the symbol of Sweden is the crowns, the three crowns. So this is one of the crowns, right? It represented the king. So for us, it represents the king also, but a different king. Okay. These lions on the right and left side are most likely it's a Polish decoration, Polish way of doing things. Most likely we got it originally from Poland in the 1800s, and it was brought to us here as a donation. Okay. This picture actually was to show you one specific detail. It says Skurnik, Skurnik and company. Okay, and so this is Mr. Skurnik, who was one of the community members and a very wealthy man. He became wealthy by real estate, by selling schmate, all kinds of things he had. In the end, he was very wealthy in Finland and had a lot of power. Just to show that also, like after the wars and also before the wars, certain individuals and Jews had the opportunity to kind of be in certain places in the society already and to make a difference. So this is a very old picture, as you can see from the cars, and you see Skurnik. You see Skurnik. Anyway, so we have a school. We have a school and a kindergarten. Here you can see. Actually, you can see my son also here. My son is here, Avishai. He's now 6, yeah. And this is Naomi, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is Naomi. His older sister, one of the twins. This is our Gan Yadim's the boss, so to speak, and we have Ima ve'Abba Shabbatot, Friday afternoons. The parents are invited to see their kids being Ima or Abba, and we eat together, we sing together, we are shown, the parents are shown what they've learned, and it's a really nice thing. And actually, here is my daughter in the front, closer to us here. My oldest daughter, Carmel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So we have a Gan Eladim, which has about 40 kids. That's the maximum we can at the moment have. So it's a pretty good situation. We have a school from 1st grade to 9th grade. Vibrant community in that sense, definitely. The school has about 100 pupils, maybe at the moment more like 90, 93, something like this. We actually at the moment the school is working with Lauder Institute and with different Matanel Institute and different organizations who have come together. There's 5 organizations have come together and want to boost education of European Jewish education in certain European cities. So we basically have a chance to be a Lauder school also. We're working. The program is called EFI, Educating for Impact. For example, Rabbi Spinner, Josh Spinner, who's if I'm not mistaken, no, he's not the YU graduate, but he's. But anyways, he's an American who lived the past decade or two in Berlin, and he's basically in charge of the Lauder in Europe and all around, and he came to visit me. I invited him here. This was about 5-6 years ago, and I said, just come to visit, to see the school, see how we do things. You know, we have very like we keep the traditions in a sense. You know, only somebody who is circumcised can come to the school and gone. And he liked this kind of idea of keeping the tradition in this small place in Finland where nothing really ever otherwise happens, you know, which is not true obviously, but it's the view of many people around, that Finland is this small place which doesn't really have anything to offer, but it's not true. It's not true. You know, also Jewishly, we are very I think interesting history. You heard already about our history, some of our history last time, which makes it all by itself already very unique. And yeah, so we have this school, we have kindergarten. I hang around with the kids, I hang around and I teach in the school. As you can see from, wait, I'm just trying to find the, yeah, Ben Gurion was visiting, right? He was visiting the school in the 60s. And already then, Israel knew where Finland is. He found his way to Helsinki. If I'm not mistaken, also Golda Meir was here. Yeah, and the Jewish community is very Zionistic in Helsinki, has always been. Proportionally, we had the most community members, most Jews sent to the Independence War, 48. I think it was 28 members or even 32 members. I think it was 28 members. And very, very Zionistic. So Helsinki was one of the third Zionist World Congress was basically done here in Helsinki. But that's not the reason why we're so Zionistic. We are Zionistic because we just are Zionistic. I mean, we are a small community which has always kept Israel in its mind, and we support Israel. I mean, nowadays it's harder. Our community is not so affluent, is not so you know, rich, so it's hard to support as previously. Previously we had rich community members, more rich community members that were working in Shmate, like Mr. Skornik that we spoke about earlier, and many others who basically had this kind of like donations in their blood, you know, like previous generations. In Finland, there's no donation culture. It's not the same culture as in, for example, America, where, you know, there's no taxation, if I'm not mistaken, on being a member, but on the other hand, like people are more appreciating more the community and from a natural you know, feeling. They have a natural feeling to support it and to give from their what they have. Anyways, you know, is maybe I can go on and we can really, you know, but I think that what we will do in order to leave a good amount of questions and in a way direct also things that you know, I didn't speak about kashrut yet. I didn't speak about you know, I've slaughtered reindeers in Lapland. Okay, I have all kinds of interesting stories to tell you. Maybe before we go into the questions, I just want to mention the kashrut and the other challenge in the intermarriage. So basically, I came to Finland. Rabbi Edelman was here, or he left when I came, and he had a few companies that he had had given kosher certificates, companies that have export. So I basically built the business of the community so that we nowadays have almost 40 international companies that are our customers, and those companies include Brown Forman, Finlandia vodka. It includes chocolates from Fatser and Panda licorices and you name it. We have all kinds of from candies to food to startups to really big companies like Neste, renewable energy. Yeah. People ask me always like, what? How can you give like a kosher certificate to a renewable energy company? And obviously the reason is because they are connected to they have a product which basically is the end product is connected to food, and that's why they should have it. Then we don't have kosher meat locally, meaning we cannot slaughter. Here since 95 officially, and the legislation became more not so beneficial for us, not so good to us, and so we have to bring meat from outside, from France, from England, Holland, from different places. It's more expensive. We get it now. We have nowadays in a supermarket, even in Kamppi, middle of Helsinki. We have a big supermarket which has a section of kosher food. We have another vendor on the internet that is a local, and he sells his food. So we have obviously the option to get kosher, and many people eat kosher. Not many people eat kosher strictly, but definitely we have that option. Intermarriage, I spoke to you briefly, just to tell you that it is a problem. It's probably our biggest problem before any kind of political Brit Milah ban, potential Brit Milah bans, which I don't think are going to happen, but like discussions about it and the general anti-Semitic vibes that we have in Helsinki or in Finland in general. I don't see that as a danger in the same way that I see the danger from inside, from eating us up from inside, just being like ignorant about your traditions. You have one generation which my grandfather's generation was still pretty traditional. I mean, my grandfather himself was not so traditional, so religious. He was traditional, but not religious. But he knew his stuff. It was more of him choosing to live a certain life, although he knew much of it. And then, obviously, later on, so my father's generation already, in the Finnish generation, they were so Finnish already. They were so comfortable in their surroundings that intermarriage rates went up, and nowadays it's really, really bad. That's the thing that I'm not so positive about. I'm not sure how much the rabbi can directly affect. I obviously try, and we try to make the community as active as possible. But anyways, I want to leave questions, so please ask me anything.
Okay, if anyone has questions, you can place them in the chat box down below, or I guess we are relatively a tight-knit group here tonight, so you could also just you can use the raise hand feature and ask a question that way. While that's collecting, hopefully in the queue, just to continue on a point you touched on in passing about 2 or 3 minutes ago. You mentioned, the anti-Semitism that it exists there, though you said you don't feel like it's an existential threat to the Finnish Jewish community. Do you feel though, for example, here in the United States, we definitely saw an uptick in anti-Semitic rhetoric and incidents over the last month, particularly during the everything that was happening in Israel about a month, I guess almost a month ago now. Do you feel like did that affect you, your community in a similar way? If what is the you mentioned you're very Zionistic community. What kind of activities take place? When a month ago Israel is under attack. Like what is that? What is that like in Finland for the Jewish community, and what's the response by the surrounding community to the Jewish community's support?
Right. Yeah. Thank you for the question. So, I mean, let's start by saying that the government woke up really late in supporting the Jewish community. Norway, Denmark, Sweden had already funds, significant funds for their security, for organizing their security, which was built in the budget of the government. And this only changed a couple of years ago in Finland, 2015, after the events in France, Denmark, Germany, Nice. What happened? The year of the uprising. So then we got this attention, and then it already started. Then they understood that there is a threat to the minority that is called the Jewish people in Finland. So they put into the budget a certain amount of money, and now we get that, and we have all the time more security updates, and we have more people working in security, and they educated in Israel sometimes, and the leaders of that misgeret, so to speak, are very well aware of the situation, and they're involved. The police, we have police car in front of our shul, especially when kids come in, kids go out, and depends on the time, depends on the information what they hear. I mean, obviously there is there is a rise in this feeling of insecurity, of anti-Semitism. I've always said that everybody speaks about the far right, the neo-Nazis, and the primitive that go around with baseball bats somewhere, in a secluded area in East Finland. Those exist, and those always been there. They've always been there for a certain extent. It's more of like hating people from different color, hating, being a xenophobic, they're taking our jobs kind of attitude. But the threat that I think is equally or even more disturbing is the fanatic Muslims. Europe is changing. Europe is not a good place to live in a couple of the areas which I would definitely not live at the moment in Europe. There's areas I would not like to live in Helsinki, Finland. Also, that I would be uncomfortable walking with a kippah. I would be uncomfortable even walking, and speaking Hebrew. It's called the Eastern Center. You feel like you're in East Jerusalem almost when you walk there, and that's Finland, which is still light years away from the situation in Sweden, in France, in Brussels. So definitely there is a rise in the. It's not as strong, the difference in America. America is always been this kind of place for the Jews. I mean, America has been, because of its history, because of its constitution, because of many things. It's been a good place for the Jews, and it's more disturbing to see what is happening in the States than what is happening in Finland. Finland, there is rise in like sentiment, like bad anti-Semitic kind of vibes, but nobody has banned Brit Milah. There's no changes in slaughtering. They haven't added anything, from the government side. The government understands more what we're talking about when we are talking about a threat, which is not only related to Europe's history, but is related to a history which Europe hasn't really fully even gone through, which is the fanatic Islam, Sharia, and all these things that are related to conquering all the places where infidel lives. Okay, there's some questions here. Just let me take a second.
Yeah, so someone asked here, what percentage of the student body at the, I guess, the local Jewish school you were talking about are Jewish according to halacha?
Well, they all convert. Most of them are actually so that the father is Jewish in many cases, but they always convert if they're students of the school. So we have a tochnit which has been here for a while already, that I do conversions here. I bring 2 rabbis from Israel, and we do conversions. So the idea is that if you want to have your bar mitzvah, your bat mitzvah, whatever, you have to be Jewish, and you have to be in the process already from early on. So if your parents decide to put you in Jewish school, into Gan Eladim, so you are in this kind of like, you are already on a train which is constantly going to remind you of why you are here, and sometimes parents take their kids away from the school, but most of the time they follow this process, and sometimes you can already do conversions before the child is born for the mother, and then the child is Jewish when the child is born. Sometimes you do it with the babies, or when they're babies. Sometimes you do it just before bat mitzvah, so that you get ger katan, so that you get the process done in a way more easily than if you would convert somebody who is an adult according to Jewish law.
Okay. Another question that I got here, someone sent it to me just directly, was related to you've been mentioned the Brit Milah situation. What is the situation? Why is this even a discussion, I guess, that Brit Milah should be banned in Finland?
Well, Finland never initiates really anything. Doesn't think by itself. It seems to me it's always following somebody else. And it follows, it looks what Sweden does, it looks what other countries, what they talk about. Usually, one of the reasons, I mean, Sweden has certain laws, they're more clear, the laws in Sweden. And Sweden hasn't, obviously, there's no nation, as far as I know, which has banned circumcision. But there's always discussion about it, and the obvious reason also is because societies are not religious anymore. Religion is seen as something primitive, something which is not relevant to us today. We, modern people, we are sophisticated, and we are the people of science. We are the people of of proof. What we see is what we believe in, and what we feel we have to do, we do. So the religion of modern times is taking its place also in Finland. And the religion of global warming, all these things, we have all kinds of religions nowadays that are going around very strongly. And 90%, 95% of the population is not circumcised. So if you have a homogeneous community which doesn't do it to themselves, it's very hard to explain to them why we should do it based on a 4,000-year-old custom. What relevance does it have to them? Plus, it's like cutting up girls, doing circumcisions to girls. They always mention that a circumcision of girls is as it's the same thing, equals to Brit Milah. So it's nothing to do with logic. That's what it is. But that's all, everywhere, more or less.
Got it. Ziva asked, does the Finnish Jewish community try to socialize or align itself with the Jewish communities in the other Nordic countries? For example, she references the book that we heard from the author last week, who talked about a camp for young people in the 1930s to meet other young Jews so they could meet, mingle, and marry each other. Does that kind of exist in today's Finnish Jewish community?
All right. So first of all, hi Ziva. There's some family of my wife's here tonight, Ziva and obviously Ari and Anita. So nice to meet you like this for a long time. Haven't seen. Anyways, so first of all, we try to socialize. Yes, we have this thing called shuf. It's basically it's in Swedish. It's Scandinavian Jewish ungdom, like youth federation that comes together every year in different places. We rotate, just like we have also sports events, and the sports also unites the youth in Scandinavia. That's one way of looking at it. So we have a lot of sports events. We have the Per Gildes game, soccer, gatherings. We have different kind of like camps that we organize between us. It's now actually pretty active. We have somebody who's very active and good at the moment in activating the youth and keeping it up. So and then shuf is kind of like more of adult. When you get more to this like 18, 19, 20 plus, and you're really trying to like already think of your future and stuff like that. So it used to be much more productive. Nowadays it's more like parties and stuff like this, and I'm not so sure. I mean, one of my friends got married through it, so there's definitely a value to those things. So we have.
Okay, very good. Steve wanted to know, how is the role of Finnish Jewish soldiers in World War II taught in secular schools, and is the Holocaust taught in secular schools?
Yeah, it is taught. I mean, I went through a secular school system myself in Finland, so I can tell you also from my own experiences that it is taught. It's not taught enough. It's not taught enough. Finland does not see itself being responsible in the same way as obviously Germany. Germany should see itself responsible, and the way that Germany teaches and in the school system, it's really strict. I mean, it's in Finland you have to have it, you have to mention it as part of history, but it doesn't have the same position in Finland than in Middle European countries the Western European countries, where actually the Jewish presence was much more felt throughout history. So, so that was one thing. The question was about that, how it's taught here, and if what was the other part of it?
Well, the role of the Finnish Jewish soldiers in World War II.
Yeah.
That people will know that story.
Yeah. So no, not well. No. Short answer, but no. People are not. Unfortunately, the education system. Although we have mentioned about it. I mean, we have, obviously, this is something. We have our people in the field, who are working with education, and they obviously have their people inside. But we're working on it that it will become more solid.
Got it. Okay, I have one last question here I see in the queue, which is, do you have, Ziva was curious, is there a large Muslim community in Finland similar to the way that it is in Sweden?
Right. So Sweden, good question. Sweden has about 10 million people, double the amount of Finland. From that amount, about 8% is Muslim. So they have about 800,000 Muslims living in Sweden. We have half the population of Sweden, but we have maximum 100,000. So this number is probably bigger than you thought, but it's still much smaller than Sweden. Much smaller, but it's growing. It's growing because the Finns don't do enough kids, which is a general problem in Europe. We non-Muslim communities, we don't do enough kids, and therefore in 20, 30 years, Europe will look very, very different, very different. And I would like to live in either Israel or America in 30 years. So, but basically, the community is growing, and we are trying to work and have discussions with the Muslim communities, Shias, the Sunnis. I have friends inside, and we are having educational gatherings, we're having conferences, and trying to keep up the good relations going on, because that will become a bigger problem once, you saw it now also in Israel, had this kind of incident with Hamas again. We saw how the Muslims, their presence was felt much more. Not that the non-Muslim, the far right was felt, or the left was felt. That's always felt, but now was totally different already. There's a video that I got from my friend, that basically there was the march. They were marching in for Free Palestine in the main road in Helsinki center, and I saw that the train that was going, or it's not a train, it's like what you have in San Francisco, those, so we have those same
Trolleys.
The trolleys, we have those here also, and the trolley has always a text on top, this next station is this and this and this. So so there was written Free Palestine.
Wow.
So this was like for me, okay, so to answer your question, which direction we are going, it's obvious that we're not going to a good direction. The question is how good or how bad it is. But that's in all the places that we are. It's not something that is specific to Finland.
Okay, well, to reiterate, I see Rabbi Morgenstern wrote a message here in the chat box, like, a big thank you and a chazak ve'amatz for all the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. It's always been a pleasure to see you and see your vibrant community. It's a good example for us also to see how you work there and how you inspire your community. So it's I've learned a lot from you.
Right back at you. Thank you so much. We hope to see you, Mirza Hashem, in person, and maybe we'll come visit you guys too. You're
always welcome. Please do. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over now to the chief rabbi's uncle to take it from here.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. Hi, Rabbi Livson. Nice seeing you again.
As well.
Meeting you. And first of all, thank you very much for getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to enlighten us, inform us, and basically invite us to Finland. We have been to Finland, my wife and I, and enjoy very much, including your hospitality. I don't know what much more to add, other than we discussed when I was there in Yeshua. We discussed that mifnei on the Aron Kodesh up there like that. Somebody else brought it to our attention that there is also a defect or an irregularity in the chandelier. Okay, one of the wrought iron things is missing, and that's the speculation that is the Zecher L'Chorban.
Yeah, it makes it wouldn't. Yeah, it would make more sense that it would be actual a thing that is related to a construction, actually a physical, not only something painting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe time to change the script a little bit, or just keep both. And
I have to talk to Pico, which is our architect, because she probably, or the message probably came from her. So I have to, sometimes she reminds me of, or she enlightens me of certain like architectural historical facts, and that's myself. I learn every time I speak to people.
Anyway,
so
this is just a very, very minor kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. You enlightened us together with John Simon. I think there may be a few people from our community who might just put Finland on their travel itinerary.
I hope so.
Come and visit you. Thank
you. Welcome to Finland, and thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Rabbi Livson, and thank you all for joining us. I hope everyone has a great night, and looking forward to being able to learn together at points in the near future. Everybody, take care. Good night and good morning, Rabbi Livson.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.